What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to My Social Life. This is the podcast where you can hear the real stories behind the people on social media. I'm your host, Jacob Kelly. As always, today's podcast is powered by TRUFAN. And before we get into today's conversation with Josh Shapiro, there's a couple things that we need to go over first. Number one, if you enjoyed today's podcast, please consider leaving a rating and a review. The more positive ratings and reviews we get, the more it helps new people find the show, and it really helps to grow the community that we're developing here. And if you're one of those people that have recently found the podcast, welcome. I'm very excited to have you here. Make sure you subscribe and stay tuned for future episodes. I put out brand new interviews every single Monday and takeaways episodes every single Thursday where I sit down and break down the week's most recent podcast. And one last thing, if you enjoyed today's podcast, make sure to share it to your Instagram story. Tag myself at the Jacob Kelly and Josh at jshap101, and I'll feature you on my account and send you a message as well. And now, without further ado, let's get to my conversation with Josh Shapiro. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to My Social Life. This is the podcast where you can hear the real stories behind the people on social media. I'm your host, Jacob Kelly. As always, today's podcast is powered by TRUFAN. And today we're joined by Josh Shapiro. And Josh is the founder of Baseball Lifestyle 101, an Instagram account with over 550,000 followers that he started in high school, that he's since turned into a seven-figure business, all centered around his passion of baseball. And I'm very excited to have him here on the podcast today. Josh, welcome to the show.
Thank you, man. First off, I really appreciate you having me on. I'm looking forward to telling the story a little bit.
Yeah, man, I'm looking forward to it as well. So I want to go all the way back to the beginning, and like not even with the account and the company, but just with baseball in general. How old were you when you started playing ball?
I mean, it was honestly from as long as I can remember. I think my first word was ball, and I think I just started playing baseball like when I could pick something up and start swinging it. So I mean, as long as I can physically remember, but yeah, man, I played my whole entire life up and through college.
And now, correct me if I'm wrong here, but two big influences for you growing up was one, Derek Jeter, and two, your dad. And you wore number 2 for a little while. And then a big, a key or an interesting story for why you wore the number 9 growing up is they asked you what number you wanted to wear. And your dad thought you were going to say 2 for Jeter, but you actually said 9 because that was his number. Is that a true story?
Yeah, that's true story. I was obviously growing up in New York during that time. Like everyone's a Derek Jeter guy, so I mean, I was always a big Derek Jeter guy, but yeah, I was like literally could have took number 2 for my first travel ball team, and I ended up taking number 9, and then my dad's nickname was Shap, so like short for Shapiro, and that was literally what my nickname. Anyone in baseball that plays baseball with me to this day just calls me Shap. So like if you're a baseball guy and know me, that's what they call me. So I took my dad's nickname and number, and I don't really know. It's just one of those things that I don't know. I just did. I mean, I think anyone obviously I talked about my father, but my mother obviously is a huge influence as well, both of them together. But my dad obviously more connected with baseball, and yeah, man, it was just one of those things where I felt like it was important to do, and I don't know, I just thought it was the right thing to do.
No, that's awesome. I'm curious about like any of your favorite memories playing ball growing up.
Yeah, I mean, now looking back on it, because now I don't play, it's kind of like the simpler things. I just simply miss playing. I miss like going to like the field at night under the lights and just like having a good time. I think once I got past high school and got into college baseball, it felt like more of a job and more of something that wasn't as much enjoyable than it was when I was just simply playing for fun. So it's one of those things where like it's so true when your coaches are like, make sure you guys enjoy this, don't stress it, and really just have a good time. And like obviously you do, but you wish you could have done it more. And I know I'm sure everyone says that because, now I play men's softball for fun, but like I have so much fun doing it because it's just like a competition. You're, pretty good ball player and you just have fun time. So like, it's really the simplest things of like, I just miss like, kind of playing, there wasn't a specific memory that really necessarily sticks out. I mean, high school was fun. Had like a walk off my was it JV like sophomore year against like an undefeated team. Like that was fun. And then like, there's some like specific memories, but honestly, it's just like playing. I miss playing. I miss being competitive. Now I have that in the business sense, but yeah, I simply just miss those small things.
Mm-hmm. And so you said how like you've translated that competitive side from baseball to the business now, but growing up, you've always been a hustler. Like you used to sell lemonade, mow lawns, flip stuff on eBay. And then in the 8th or 9th grade, you wanted a fish tank and your dad told you you have to save up and buy it. Can you tell everyone how fast you bought it? Because he said it would take you 6 months. How fast did it actually take you and what did you do to accomplish it in that time?
it was just, I think it was like a week or like a month. It was something really quick. And again, my dad and my mom always installed in me that like if you want something, you have to go buy it. And not that they couldn't afford it, but it's just installing that like drive, and that you have to earn it. And that's the same thing I'll definitely teach my kids, because I think it's made me who I am. And but yeah, man, it was just a matter of like mowing as enough lawns as I can. Like my dad would simply be like, hey, like there's weeds in the backyard, and for every weed you pick, it's like 10 cents, and I'd come back with like a full bucket of like 25 bucks. But for me, like everything added up. So whether it was washing cars or mowing lawns or selling stuff on eBay or literally whatever I had to do to just like make that money. Like I literally would take kids video games on from high school and then sell them on my eBay, and then just give them a percentage of the sales, because I remember GameStop was like they would give you like nothing. And I'm like, guys, you could sell your video game for like 40 bucks instead of 5, and I'll give you 10%. It's like they really weren't making much, but like at the end of the day, like they didn't have to. For me, it was just an opportunity. So I remember doing like everything like that. It was pretty wild.
And so, like, kind of with having that hustler was just within you, was there ever like a thought process growing up prior to starting the account, or even during, where you thought that business was an option? Or were you just like pot committed and set on playing pro ball? Like, what was your relationship with running a business growing up?
I don't think I never really had the business sense, because my dad was never he's not in business. He's the furthest thing from an entrepreneur, not in a bad way. He's just one of those guys that's been the same job for 35 years. So it's just different. But it all kind of changed when I was going to train for, kind of like for sports, and I was going to the gym. Who Bill Rom, who owns the gym, he owns his own business, right? So when I would start to go there, and this kind of gets to the story, but I was starting to talk about, how I want to grow this account, I want to post flyers. But once I met Bill, he kind of saw the potential in me, as like, because I was always that hardworking hustler kind of kid. So he kind of took that and started giving me more like a business side of like a mind frame and a mindset and a mindset. So instead of just kind of thinking about baseball, it was about kind of more business related.
Mhm. And so, speaking of the account, can you take me back to March 13th, 2013, sitting on a couch with Tristan Maddie?
Yeah, I wish I would have like honestly remembered that day a little bit more. Like I don't remember really anything about that day, but I remember when I started it, and I think it was right around the time like the movie 42 was coming out about Jackie Robinson, because I remember that was like one of the first posts. And um dude, I don't know, I just did it. I mean, I think you don't realize, like, a lot of people say like I just started it, and I think that was what it is. My passion for the game. I just liked Instagram for myself personally, and I know there's a lot of like Twitter baseball accounts, but there wasn't really anything for baseball. So I just kind of wanted to put my 2 cents out there, and I just started it, and somehow didn't call it something completely stupid. And really, that was thankful, because like it's funny today, the industry is like the baseball lifestyle apparel industry, because it's like a light, you know what I mean? So like we're literally named after what the industry is. So like for SEO purposes, it's awesome. But that was all literally just by accident. So yeah, I just named it that and just started posting on Instagram. Didn't really think anything of it. I just did it. I don't even know like really why. Just 'cause, again, the reason why is because I love the game of baseball. I was obsessed with it.
Mhm. And what about like creating a baseball account? Like I've talked to Buster Share and Elliot Robinson, who've started Hoops Nation and Dunk, and the media rights with basketball is just completely different from baseball. It's like, was that a challenge for you running the account? Is trying to deal with the rights to repost highlights and stuff with the MLB, with them kind of clamping down on that?
Yeah, it's definitely different, but I think it's helped us a lot in the sense that we've separated ourselves from MLB. Like we're not relying on them. Obviously, they help push the game forward and they're great, and we have a good relationship with them. But I don't ever want to be reliant on the sport. I mean, look at it right now, right? Like just now, there's gonna be there's gonna be an MLB season in a couple of weeks, but like there hasn't been an MLB season this year. So like if we were so reliant on MLB for the content, for our apparel, for all of that, we'd be in a very different position financially and growth and all that stuff right now. But the fact that like we aren't able to use their content has helped us kind of pivot in how we do things and how we make content. And we're just more for the general, general fan, the general kid that loves the game of baseball. And we're not necessarily related to MLB in any sense. And I love that. I think that's so key for what we do.
Mhm. For anyone that's never looked at the account, can you kind of explain then what that content would look like then without really being able to leverage the MLB?
Yeah, it's basically it's like it's the baseball lifestyle, right? So in a larger sense, but like it was just what I was talking to you about earlier. It's like what do you miss about the game, right? So if you're done playing, it's like you miss the bus trips, right? You miss like it's all the relatable kind of content, right? Where it's, there's always that guy that does this, there's always that guy that does that, or some situation that happens, or just different things in baseball that are lifestyle, like, posting like seeds or gum, or, just things that you can really relate to as a baseball player, not necessarily anything to do with Major League Baseball. We post about it here and there. We have good relationships with a lot of the guys in the league, but it's not revolving around like who's your favorite team. It's revolving around like the baseball lifestyle itself, going to the cages, hanging out with your teammates. There's times in the hotel room, getting yelled at by the coach after losing, like all of that stuff that you really, really think about is what our account is, and our brand is surrounded by.
Mhm. I think it was within the first year or something where you hit 5K, right?
Yep. It was, I think the first year I think we hit, yeah, between 5 and 10K. It was nothing too crazy.
Yeah, but I mean, even so, for like a kid in high school, I remember like growing up, there'd be girls I went to high school with like 3,000 followers. We thought that was crazy, but even though like so you had 5, 10K, you kept it pretty quiet for the most part, right? Like one of the few people you kind of talked about it was Bill. You said.
Yeah, I kept it very low key. I mean, um, because, I think a big thing is like you have to put your head down and work and actually, have something to show before you start like putting out what you're doing, because it's really nothing. The kids on the baseball team knew about it because I was like always on my phone, and they were making fun of me at the time for it. Like today where, everyone's got their own Finsta or blog or whatever it is. Like there wasn't that in 2013. Like everyone was like wondering why I was doing that. And it was like this weird kid obsessed with the game of baseball, and that's what it was. And um not that was what it was, but like that's what it was perceived as. And for me, I'm an undersized kid, so I've always been like that hard worker, focused, and I have to put in more effort than everybody else just to be where everybody is. So I took that same mindset in the baseball realm and just started doing it for the Instagram. Like you talked about, I started talking to Bill about it, and I told him at 5,000 followers, I was like, I want to come out with T-shirts. I want to be a clothing brand. And he started really again starting to give me the actual business side of like, well, if you sold X percentage to your customers and your AOV was this and this, that, and the other, you'd sell 50 t-shirts at $25. I was like, well, that's not fun. Like, I don't want to do that. Like, that's not what I got this for. So he just started telling me to, kind of create a community, create a brand, create a place where people want to hang out virtually. And that's just what I did. And I think, with his belief in me and with my parents' belief in me and my core friend group belief in me, that's all you need. And I think with that motivation, I've always had this I'm going to prove you wrong attitude for whether it was baseball or the business. And I just took that and just really just focused solely on that. I'm still so laser focused on what I'm trying to accomplish.
And like in terms of with him telling you to build a brand and create a place for people to hang out online, one thing, correct me if I'm wrong, but he also told you to put yourself on the account, right? To really humanize the brand. How important was that to connecting with your followers?
Huge. I think that's one of the biggest things. I think, you go and you look at different brands and different pages or accounts, and they're just an account. They're just X, they're just whatever, because you don't know, you have no emotional connection. So for him, telling me to put my face out there was so important in the fact that, you're creating actual genuine relationships with kids. They know who you are, they know your story, they know everything. And it's not like being creepy or anything, but like they should know who you are, they should know what you're about. And for me, it was tough because I was a 15-year-old kid. And I'm like, well, Bill, like, there's 30-year-old guys following this. Why are they going to want to watch somebody that's 15 years old? But, for me, to those other relatable kids, you're relatable, exactly that. Those kids are your age, they're your same people, so they want to listen to somebody like you. And it was huge, man. I mean, get fast forwarding a little bit, but not the full thing, was when we went to Omaha, Nebraska for the first time for the College World Series, and this is years down the line. I was overwhelmed by the amount of recognition that I have. I mean, I literally couldn't go anywhere remember, it's obviously a lot of baseball kids. It's a baseball heaven over there, but I couldn't walk 5 feet without getting recognized. And kids want to talk to me, taking pictures. And dude, it got to the point at the end of the event, I literally like broke down and cried, and not because of like happiness, sadness, whatever. It was just like emotional drain of like, I didn't realize that this is what it was. I mean, I took hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of photos of kids. I talked to hundreds and hundreds of people. I had dads coming up to me and saying, "Thank you so much for what you do for my son." And like, for some kid that literally started this for fun in high school at 15 years old to then have that quote unquote stardom was like unreal. That's not what you got it into for, but like, that's what it became, and that's what it's become. Like to this day, like we go anywhere where there's kids that are playing baseball, and you're not, it might not have to even be wearing BL stuff, but like, you'll get the DM, "Hey, I saw you here. Was that you?" Or, "Hey," like, it's all over. And, now what we've done is kind of taken the other Josh, who's like, my best friend, and he's now like the face of our TikTok. That way it's just like another face. And like, wait till we go out in person and see people at events when, things open back up, or next year at the College World Series. He's going to get that same stardom and thing that I had when I went there a couple of years ago.
And like, so with that in mind too, with just the impact you created, I've heard you say that the main reason you wanted to make the MLB was one, obviously playing in the show would be awesome, but you wanted to have that impact with kids. So now you've essentially basically created a way to have that impact through the account, right?
Yeah, that's what's honestly so amazing, like, is the impact, I think when I dreamed of playing baseball, obviously a lot of, great, you're making a ton of money and, you have that stardom and fame, but, like, my, like, dreams that I would remember would be, like, me running onto the field and, like, kids, yelling your name and you going over there and making their day, right? And to be able to do that, with baseball lifestyle is pretty unreal. I get messages all the time from parents that are like, like this, like sending me a picture of their kid wearing it and saying, this is like his most favorite shirt and he loves it. And thank you so much for all you do. Or like just hearing other people tell me the stories of baseball lifestyle. And it's like, wow, like that's crazy. Again, like every time I talk about that, like it's so unreal because like, that's what you want to do, but to actually have that impact on the game of baseball and kids, like the fact that basically if you took away baseball lifestyle from some of these kids, they wouldn't know what to do. It's their network, it's their channel, it's their brand that they grew up with. And for me to say that, it's like it's crazy when you think about it.
And to build something like that, to build that impact didn't come easy. Like when you were another piece of advice that Bill told you was you need to post, I think it was like 12 times a day, and you did that every hour on the hour from like noon to midnight or something like that. Like how much of a grind was that, and how do you find content to post 12 times a day?
Yeah, that was some grind because especially in high school, there was no saving it as the drafts, and there was, so you had to actually, find the photo or whatever you were doing, create the caption, and then put it all in instead of, and then like real time, not just save it. Like today, like I can, at 9:30 in the morning when I come in, I set up my post for the day, and I could schedule it all out in terms of like putting them all on my phone, and then just say, okay, I know this is here, press go. Like you wouldn't be able to do that. So, oh man, it was a grind. I mean, a lot of it was taking a lot of the content from Twitter that wasn't yet on Instagram, bringing it there. A lot of it was submitted stuff. A lot of it was created by myself. Um, so it was just a mixture of everything because I don't think, you know, right now, like the media supports our clothing and the clothing supports our media. They work together. Content is key. Content drives, it drives everything. It drives brand, it drives engagement, it drives sales, it's everything. But every single post has a singular purpose. Like back then, it was sort of just post to post, but now everything's got a purpose. But yeah, dude, it was a grind. I mean, I remember in high school I'd be out and I'd have to during a game I'd be posting, I'd pull aside or whatever it was, dude. I didn't want to miss that because to me I looked at it like a television show. If your favorite TV show is on at 8 o'clock, it doesn't come on at 8:15. It comes on at 8 o'clock. So you have to make sure that you're kind of wired in that. And like I know what time it is of the day at all times now because I'm just so used to doing that.
What's the hardest spot you had to make a post to keep it on the hour? Like I one spot I heard you say was you were posting during a Mike Stud concert. Like is that as crazy as it got? Or like what's one of the weirdest spots you were like, shit, I have to get a post up?
I mean, on like airplanes and stuff too, like I'll book my flights around my posting schedule, as crazy as that sounds, or I'll have to buy the Wi-Fi or whatever. Since I'm like, I don't want to buy the Wi-Fi, it's like a waste, but I'll have to do it. Like, I've been in other countries where the time zones are completely flopped. So I've had to like be up at 3 to do this. Cause again, I have full control over the posting. And it's not that I like don't trust anybody else. It's just that like I just know what I'm doing. And there's been a few times where I've given my phone to somebody else, like because everyone in the company I trust, Billy, Melissa, Josh, Dennis, everybody I would trust to post. It's just I like just having it on my phone. So for example, I went to Italy one time and it was like the only time I didn't post in like 2 years. I took a break. And like a vacation is me not just chilling, it's me not posting because you're still always on. So I had Melissa post, and I think this Thursday I'm actually getting my four wisdom tooth pulled, so I'm not going to be posting this Thursday, so it'll be somebody else. But again, I just give that phone and I let them post. But yeah, dude, I mean, I've posted on crazy times. I posted at crazy places just to make sure I get everything up and done.
How big of a deal was it in high school when a teacher would try to take your phone away? Like I mentioned Buster Share earlier, and that's something he told me about. When a teacher would take his phone away when he was trying to run Hoops Nation, like that was a big deal. Did that ever happen where a teacher took your phone because you were posting in class?
Oh yeah, I used to get into like I would get into like, like dumb arguments, which I shouldn't have done. But like, you're like I would literally the teacher would tell me to stop and I tell him I was working. I was like, I'm working, I'm working, I'm working. And they're like, what are you talking about? Like, I'm working, like, trust me, like, whatever. So I had the one teacher who basically like didn't believe in social media or any of the phones and stuff. And he basically told me what I was doing was like pretty much like worthless, like it wasn't work, it was all worthless. And then the funny story about that is my sister is like she was when I was a senior, she was a freshman. So by the time I got out of school, I had dropped out and all that stuff at that point. Had him as a teacher, and he basically was like, like people started talking and like started seeing the business and kind of all that stuff. And he had mentioned to her, he was like, "Tell your brother I said I'm sorry. Like he makes more, he's more he makes more money than I do at this point at like 19, like whatever." And then I saw him at my sister's graduation. He like apologized and all that stuff, and that was really cool because I think it's so important to know that, you don't want it to be a jerk about it and like, like not them, but you as a person. But I think it's just deep down understanding and knowing what you're doing something for and like really sticking to it, and not letting anybody deter you. But yeah, dude, I had a lot of times in class where I would get, in trouble or pulled aside or, you can't be on your phone and this. And I had really solid grades. I mean, I graduated, with a 92 or 94 in high school. I just couldn't do math to save my life. So that was definitely the class that I was on my phone because it didn't matter if I was paying attention or not. But yeah, I mean, I was definitely posting at all times in high school.
And so you had in terms of growing the account, you had putting your face on it to make that connection with your followers. You're posting 12 times a day. And I used to jump on you just to scroll through the hashtag baseball and just like every photo under there. What are some other things you did to grow the account, especially early on?
Yeah, I mean, that was definitely something that definitely isn't like doesn't work now because I think back then it was like, what is this account that's liking my photo? And you would check it out. Now you just, you get all these spam accounts all the time that like your stuff, and it's just like get off, like I'm gonna block you. It's just completely different. I think the biggest thing is networking with other people that were your size. I would work with other accounts. I would, do some shout outs for shout outs. Like it's okay to be a little scrappy, it's hustling, build up your stuff, be a little scrappy, and then, worry about it from there. um, but the big thing was giveaways. Just giving people free stuff. I used to get at like 10,000 followers. I started getting a lot of free stuff from different companies. And one thing that Billy told me, he was like, "Listen, you're gonna have to give some of this stuff away." To tell that to like a sophomore and in high school that like it's getting all this free baseball gear. It was tough, but it was also like important because he's like, the more you need to give value, you need to give value. You need to like give them stuff for free. So I would just do a bunch of giveaways and they'd have to like and follow. And, the engagement back in 2013, 14, 15, 16 was crazy on Instagram, and I would just grow, 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 grow. I mean, I would grow probably 5, 6, 7,000 followers a week just by posting and doing giveaways. And now obviously the game is so different, but it's okay. It's matured and now you go to the next platform, i.e. TikTok, and do stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of how it grew in the beginning, a lot of just hustling, a lot of all that other different things.
So mentioned that you were growing thousands of followers a week at one point. I know what I think earlier on you set a goal for yourself to grow 250 followers every day, I think it was, and you wouldn't go to bed until you hit that. Like, was that just literally like engaging and just doing anything you could to get a follower so you could go to sleep at some points?
Yeah, I was just listen, I'm a very goal oriented person, so like I need to make sure I'm doing X, Y, and Z to feel like I was successful that day. So for me, it was hitting that number. So sometimes I would hit that number by like 1 o'clock and then just keep going and everything else was gravy. But yeah, I mean, listen, obviously some days you don't hit your goal, right? So some days I didn't hit 250, but other days I hit 700, So I think it's just important to set a marker and try to do everything in your power to hit that. And that was just a number for me because I was able to say, okay, if I grow 250 and times that by 7 and times that by 12 and times that by 5, I'm going to be at X. And obviously there's a multiplier and obviously there's, see, crazy as me thinking about math and I couldn't do math, but obviously just, knowing that there's other things that are going to grow you and other things that are going to get you there, but having like a base of where you want to start is important.
And you said too, another key thing was those giveaways. And you didn't launch the clothing until I believe you were in college. But at what point did you start charging brands to make posts on the baseball lifestyle account?
I would say it's about 10 to 15,000 followers. Like once the free stuff was like not sufficient anymore, it was like, well, now I want to get paid. I want to start making money. That's kind of where like the hustle started coming in. So it was pretty relatively soon. But I mean, listen, I was charging $5 a post, and when I every like 10,000 followers I grew, it was $10 a post, 15, and it would just grow. And then I put together packages, and it was influencer marketing before the influencer marketing was even a thing. I used to have to send a Gary Vaynerchuk article about what influencer marketing was and why it's important. And that's exactly what I would do. And I would just have to convince people to give me money to get in front of my followers. But now, I mean, now you look at the game, people are paying thousands and thousands of followers a day to pay money to Facebook to hope to reach that audience instead of, the direct and influence. It's a whole different ballgame now than it was then.
Yeah, that's wild. I mean, I love the hustle of sending companies the Gary V links to just kind of show them how important influencer marketing is. But you were making, like you said, you were charging $5 post, $10 post, but you were at the point where you didn't have to work a job because you were doing Instagram, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've never had to work a quote unquote real job. I was making enough money doing that and then working at the baseball facility, helping, giving lessons and other things because I was a decent baseball player. I've been there for a while and they trusted me to help, teach different kids different things. So I was just doing both of those things and making more than enough money where I was, kind of could do what I want when I want. Again, that's again, now looking back on it from my age now and like I'm very thankful for my parents to have provided me the ability to do that, to not be stressed. And that's not like the situation for everybody. I wasn't rich or I wasn't upper middle class by any stand, but I wasn't worried about bills and things like that because my parents had that covered for me. And I think you don't realize how much opportunity that gives you when you're younger, but then looking back on it, having the ability to have an iPhone, unlimited data, and basically do what you want when you want. But obviously, making sure that you're staying grounded and making your money, like that's a very big opportunity, and like not everybody has that.
Mhm. You were you were able to buy just from Instagram and doing those lessons. You were able to buy your first car in cash, right?
Yeah, my first 2 cars. So my dad, my senior, I'm always like the youngest kid in high school. My birthday is in November, so like I was like the last to drive, and I know my dad was like, "I'll give you my car," but I was like, "Listen, I don't like, I hated that. I was like, I don't want your car. Like, I want to buy my own, and I wanted a Wrangler at the time, but my dad was like, very much, you have to buy it all in cash, and so I bought my first like Jeep Liberty. I think it was like it was pretty relatively like brand new in all cash, and then I was like, at that point, I was like, well, I really want the Wrangler. And I still really wanted it. That was like my thing. And then he was like, oh, well, you can get it by, your senior year of college once you save up X, Y, and Z. And again, once I get a goal in my mind, I got the Wrangler my freshman year of college. Literally the next year, I flipped the Jeep Liberty into a Wrangler. And by the time my senior year of college came around, I think I'd owned like not altogether 2 Wranglers, but like I bought another Wrangler, flipped that to it, but get a nicer one. So like that's just what I was about. And now obviously things are very different as you grow older. Living and other things become more expensive. But dude, I was just like that was just kind of what I was hustling for.
Yeah, and so with being able to buy like your first couple cars in cash, especially the first one you're still in high school, with having that kind of money coming in, was it ever a thought to run the account and just do that full time straight out of high school, or were you still chasing the dream of playing in the show, and is that why you ended up going to college?
Yeah, I was still chasing that dream of playing, Major League Baseball, and that's why I played, college baseball. But I never thought I'd have to work like a real job, quote unquote. But I didn't think of the business wasn't even a business at that point in college. It was not even LLC or anything. But once I got into, my freshman year playing baseball, Division 3, I'm 5'6", yada yada yada. And listen, I was good. I played my freshman year, but you start seeing some of the talent around you, and you go, wow, like this is actually what real baseball is, and these guys aren't getting drafted to the big leagues. Like, what am I doing? And it started to get me to think a little bit more about taking, the business side or the baseball lifestyle account than not, the brand to actually being a business and kind of making that decision of, baseball or the business. And, that's kind of what it came down to. But at that point, again, I wasn't really thinking about anything else. I was going for business degree, but I think again, having Bill in my corner and having my parents back me and tell me that, you don't need school. Like I learned so much more from Bill during college and before college than I did in college. And I learned so much more because my freshman year, was when I established the company. Well, sophomore year, 2016, and just from getting that whole thing process started, the legal, this, that, and the other, I learned so much more doing that than I did in school.
And I want to talk a little bit more about ultimately making that decision to drop out of school and pursue the camp full time. But before then, I'm curious, what was the dynamic like running the account and being paid to promote products and stuff while being a NCAA athlete?
Yeah, it wasn't like it was. So it was like a local Division 3 school in Long Island, and I mean, I was now like now I laugh because I was definitely breaking college rules at the time. But it wasn't like as big of a deal, and I wasn't making like again stupid money. I was just making money, stupid money in the sense that you're college, you don't have to worry about anything. But like, yeah, I didn't never it never like really crossed my mind because just didn't it never really came up. My coach, no one ever gave me like a problem about it. But I mean, it was definitely something now looking back on it, like, oh wow, like probably shouldn't have, like I well not shouldn't have, like, because that's not doing anything wrong. But like, yeah, it's definitely a bigger issue now with you see with schools and you've seen like I think it was the YouTuber, the guy who was kicking for a college and then they were literally like, you do your YouTube channel because you're making money. And he ended up not going to school and becoming a YouTube guy, making ton more money. And I was playing professional, all this stuff. So like it could have came to that head, but I wasn't that big of a figure, I wasn't like that big of a school where I don't think it was an issue.
Mhm. And then so ultimately it was your sophomore year. I think you played fall ball and then you ended up deciding to drop out. And you mentioned that there was a lot of that you were looking at the talent of guys that weren't getting drafted. And one specific guy was Nick Girardi. You kind of talked to him before you made your decision to drop out. What did you guys talk about during that conversation?
Nick, man. So he was like again, he's like the best player I've ever seen in face to face in person. And I just talked to him about, you know, his struggle of him even getting drafted and him getting looks and just kind of telling him what I had thought about where I think I could take BL. And he's worked out with me since I was very young and he knows Billy and he knows, the whole dynamic of who I am and everything. So it was just more of a heart to heart conversation of saying like, hey, like, I've worked really hard for this. I've worked all my life, but like I'm not giving this thing up, hanging the spikes up. And um, you know, he didn't tell me to do it or not. He just said like, I know whatever you do is the right thing. And my dad same way and Billy the same way. Everyone was like, listen, like you have these opportunities in front of you, like go ahead and take them, but you could also go play ball. It's just, do what you want. And I think I just ended up coming up to the decision that I knew that baseball had an expiration date, but my business was just, getting started and I should take full advantage of that. And I could always go, play baseball. I had eligibility left. If I regretted it, I can go play, a year later. It didn't matter. But the business, every day I took off from starting the actual business was another opportunity day lost.
Mhm. And then so it was end of so it was when you would have dropped out and you that's when you ultimately ended up launching the clothing line.
Yeah, so what the timeline was in 2015, I played my freshman year, and then the fall of 2016, I played the fall, and then I stopped playing. Um, that following, so was it 3 years now? Yeah. So that Black Friday, pretty much, well, that August of 2016. So August 2016, I launched the actual LLC. I launched the actual website. I kind of got things off the ground. And then what happened was I was still in school, but that following year, so I was gonna go into my junior year. My parents, basically, they all moved to North Carolina. Nothing, my dad just, he was Long Island's very expensive. He was getting closer and closer to retirement. The weather here isn't great all year. He just wanted to go down there. I was like, listen, man, at this point, I was definitely making more than enough money from influencer marketing and from the website starting up that I was like, dude, go for it. I moved out on my own at 19, paying for my own apartment and just bought a brand new car again and by myself because at this point now I was like I can't buy everything in cash. I need to build up credit, so I got a new car just for that purpose. And I started doing that, and I was like, listen, guys, like I'm good to be by myself. Like go ahead, go do this. And I had Bill and Melissa and everybody here support around me to in case things were not going well. And yeah, so they had left. But then at that point, when you miss like 3 classes, you basically kind of like fail the class. So I had to help them move. So I took the semester off. Um, and so that was going to be my first semester of junior year. And then that fall of 2017, that Black Friday was like the biggest thing ever. And obviously now it's funny because I'm pretty sure we've had days this year that are bigger than that Black Friday in 2017. But like it was the biggest thing ever. And I saw all this money that I've never seen before. It was like more money than I knew what to do with it. And at the time, at 20 years old. And yeah, at that point, I was like, I think this might be like the decision to not go back to school. I'm spending all this time, like I'm gonna waste time in school. I can't go on trips. I can't talk to people because I'm gonna sit in class. And I spoke with my dad, I spoke with my mom, and they had told me, if I was playing college baseball and I got drafted to go to the minor leagues, they said, listen, like we'd let you go and chase that dream. You can always go back to school. And they just told me, hey, listen, you got drafted in a different way. Like, go ahead, chase this business. Like, you're going to be fine. You got a good support system. You have Bill, you have, Melissa, you have your friends, and go for it. And having that, that okay, that validation from your parents to tell you to, drop out of college and go from a parents that, went to school, did their thing and got, a job. That was huge for me, man. It was the freedom to do what I wanted to do. And obviously it was the best decision I've ever made.
And so, and then I want to talk a little more actually about that Black Friday you mentioned. I did the deep scroll on your Instagram and I saw like in terms of the hustle of everything, I think it was shortly after Black Friday, you posted a photo where you'd personally packed 500 orders. And it was, I think it was December 2017. So like, what was this process at that point for putting out all the orders together? Like now you have a warehouse and everything, but back then was all the product coming to your house that you would then have to package or like, what did that look like?
So the development of that was, yeah, it was first in my basement. My dad, like in my parents' basement, and my dad would like, I had the full basement to myself basically, and then it was a little corner, and then we put up some shelving, and then from there it went into Billy's gym, because Billy had some space in his gym, so I started taking over like a little space in the gym. Then I started taking over the back wall, and then from there I went to in 2017, I believe, yes, in 2017 I went to New Jersey. Um, because somebody that I was working with had like a warehouse down there and she was going to handle everything for me because I was, still kind of new to it, didn't really know what to do and just thought that was the right decision at the time. Ended up not being the right decision, but again, you live and you learn. But yeah, 2017, I mean, I went there to help pack everything because nobody expected what was to be expected of how many orders. And you talk about 500 orders that I packed for Black Friday. To put that in perspective, this July 4th on Sunday, we did 440 orders on that day. So like that's just crazy to think about that those numbers are completely different from that day to where it was just 2 days ago on a regular, basically sales day. So yeah, I helped pack all the orders. I was doing it all myself. And then 2018 is when we moved into the warehouse that we're currently still at.
Got you. And then so when you put pushing the clothes initially, like in terms of promoting them, was it all through just posting that on your Instagram account, or did you start doing Facebook ads from the get?
No, it was all organic. Our first spend on marketing was not until October of 2018. My buddy Rob, who worked at Vanner Media, it was just a friend through again, everything happens for a reason. One of my friends that I met in college before I dropped out, my buddy Nick, who I'm still really close with. It was in a class with him, and we were going out to Miller's to watch a fight. And his buddy Rob shows up, who I never met, and then we start talking and he's like, hey, I can make you a lot more money than you're making. I'm like, oh, what are you talking about? And then once he said he worked at Vanner, it validated it in my mind because I was a big Gary guy. And yeah, not until then, we hadn't paid $1 of marketing and we were growing like 50% a year just organically. Cause again, we didn't start selling anything until 2017 and we started Instagram in 2013. So that's 4 years of, building up a brand, thousands and hundreds of thousands of followers before asking people to buy. So we had a good kickstart in the beginning, and then everything was new. So every new product was a huge drop because it was all new. And then 2018, when we did that and we hit 7 figures for the first time, was crazy because we took that marketing spend that we haven't done before, and we're like, wow, like this is a whole new world to us. So when we started doing the marketing, it was huge, but we started doing it because I started to see the Instagram organic start to die that same time. I was like, I could just sense what's going on here, and that's when we pivoted to making sure that we could do some pay to play. And, that's obviously a pretty sizable part of our business now.
Without giving it into like too specific or giving away any secrets, though, can you kind of elaborate a little bit more on what your ad strategy looks like?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it is just making sure that you're taking advantage of the consumers that you've already built. So with 500,000 followers, there's a lot of network. There's a lot of people that you need to be, retargeting. Retargeting is a simple thing. If somebody goes to our website, they need to make sure that when they log on to Facebook, they see us, or they log on anywhere, they're seeing us. So a lot of top of mind stuff, but targeting those people that are, in your industry. And that's really it. I mean, there's so much even inside of Facebook, like analytically, that I don't even necessarily fully understand like the whole, it's an AI system, right? Facebook's the smartest, she's the smartest person in the world, like that's what it is. And you just feed it, and it takes care of you as long as you're feeding it the right information. So nothing in specific, but just making sure that we're taking advantage of all the traffic that we were sending, and then trying to take those people that look like those other people and try to bring them into your funnel.
And so when you say retargeting, you talking about like people landing on the website and bouncing, or people that just abandon their cart and you're retargeting those people?
Exactly. So like anyone that's just interested in the brands, it's like if you clicked and you added this to cart, like making sure that when you log on to your Facebook that you see that product first thing you do, and we give you a discount code to get back in. I mean, that's simple. As a brand at this point in 2020, if you're not doing retargeting, I mean that's no secret. You're missing out on a ton of money. It's just like anything. But now with what the data we have and the connections you have with the actual consumer, if you're not doing retargeting or any Facebook marketing or any marketing in general or influencer marketing, you're missing the boat on a lot of potential.
Mhm. And so I think it was in the whistle video you did where you said Melissa handles all the email marketing. How does the email marketing kind of tie into what you're doing with the Facebook ads?
Yeah, it's so important because with the email marketing, you own that list. Those people are your people, they're your customers. Obviously, like we're seeing it right now. Like I literally was just reading up before, like, everyone's got worries about Instagram taking privacy, and they control everything. And now look at TikTok, like the possible ban, like which I don't believe is gonna happen, but like, everyone's worried about information, but you're also running on a free platform that if they decide they could take you away tomorrow, like they don't owe you anything. You're on their free platform making a ton of money. Now, are you spending money through their platform? Yes. Does that help? Yes. But with email, you own those contacts because you've curated them. So it's so important in the sense that those contacts are very important to us, and making sure you're creating the right things. And email really helps because we'll do a lot of email releases first, exclusive access to exclusive releases to those people to kind of give them that VIP experience before anybody else.
And with owning email as well, is there any content play with it that you guys do, or is it all strictly for doing like pre-sales and dropping and launches and stuff like that? Or do you do any content through the email?
Yeah, so we do like our wallpaper Wednesdays. So every Wednesday, for the most part, unless we have something big happening during that time, they'll get an email with a wallpaper. We'll do like blog posts, stories, stuff like that. But most of the time, like I feel like the value of email is having first access, and hey, like I got this first because our stuff sells out, at this point pretty much instantly, like within a day or two. So it's like if we can give it to that list first and they get the access to make sure that they secure it, our biggest followers and buyers are on there to make sure that they can get their hands on something first. And that's a big value add. You have first access, you have X, Y, and Z, you have a first look, or all of that stuff. I think is very important what the email provides.
And then how did you go about building that list? Like, is it just mainly through website, or is it through like pushing people to sign up when like on your Instagram and ask them to go to your website to sign up? And correct me if I'm wrong, does your audience skew more towards Gen Z? And did they check their emails often, or is it more so targeted towards the parents? Like, just kind of walk me through that.
Yeah, no, exactly. So, yeah, I mean, a lot of it's just our customer base of people that have signed up for, you have a pop up on your website. So you're capturing all the new people, which works really well. And then anytime someone buys, they go into your list. But yeah, you're 100% right. I actually don't do a lot of pushes for it to social media because, like you said, it's Gen Z. It's our main consumer is a 12-year-old to my age, 22. Some people who don't really like check their email as much, and that's they're not on email, they're on TikTok, or they're on a texting platform, or they're on different ways. And that's where social media comes to hand. Everything works together. Like the plan is to try, you need to validate yourself as a brand on social to the kids. And then you need to validate yourself as a brand and trustworthy to the parents via your website with reviews, via your email list with how things look and how safe everything looks, and validation on that sense. So it's one big sales funnel, it's one big loop. But with the kids, yeah, we mostly hit them on the social platforms because that's where they engage. And with the parents, they're mostly the ones buying and checking it out on, they're the ones getting hit with most of the Facebook ads and most of the emails.
And do you guys do any influencer marketing to help grow the account? Or is it pretty much just like you guys are known as like you, if anyone was to do influencer marketing in the baseball space, they'd work with you guys. So does influencer marketing something you do?
Yeah, that's literally it. I mean, we always laugh like we're our best influencer because there isn't as many people doing what we're doing. All the influencers most of the influencers in the baseball space are MLB players or professional players, and that's tough because you start getting into the hands of MLB, you start dealing with all the restrictions, and it's just sometimes not worth the squeeze. So we send a lot of those guys gear, not because not because we're trying to take advantage of them, simply because they follow us. I'll see they follow us, I'll DM them, and then just genuinely they want to rock our stuff. So it's a genuine relationship. But they post our gear up. We send, they give us a photo. We post it up. We help them grow their socials because that's what they're looking for. The more followers they have, the better they look to other brands. But yeah, I mean, we're basically our best influencer. We're our best marketer, and because we're producing so much content. The other Josh is his job is to just strictly produce content. He's making 4 TikToks a day. He's making YouTube videos, and he's our own influencer. I'm an influencer. Dennis, everyone in the team is an influencer for the brand. So we really just look at it from our brand perspective.
And so now with being like the premier baseball account, I know you guys have started to expand to other sports, right? There's a softball lifestyle account as well.
Hmm.
And so, like, what was actually before asking the thought process behind that? I have a quote written down here. Are you saying somewhere that there's more money in softball, and that if you talk to brands, they'd rather go to a softball tournament with like 150 girls as opposed to a baseball tournament with 300 guys? Why is that?
Yeah, that's a very interesting market, and we still not necessarily have figured it out completely. But I think it's more in like the space of that softball kind of feels like the little sister to baseball. But like when the opportunity is there, the dads and the moms and the girls just like they just spend more in that sense. But the clothing market is completely different than what it is in baseball. Those girls aren't wearing what the baseball guys are wearing, in the sense like if you just make the same t-shirt for girls, they'll wear the baseball one, not the softball. It's a very, very different market. Baseball is a lot more established in the lifestyle apparel side, and softball doesn't have anybody in that. So it's just a completely different market. But in terms of like, I've just heard from different brands, if you were to go to a tournament, the softball girls are always willing to spend more. And I don't know exactly why for it, but it just seems like sometimes the girls are more willing to try new things, while the baseball guys are a little more stubborn on their favorite brand or product, or I'm not gonna swing that because of my status quo in the game. So it's just a little bit more open.
That's interesting. And is there ever a thought process to expand into even more sports beyond that? Like I think it was back in 2017 you launched Sports Lifestyle or Lifestyle Sports 101. Like was that kind of just a test to watch to see how it would go with other sports, or is that still an idea?
Yeah, that was just a test to like feel out the industry and see what else we could do. We were definitely, it definitely was really successful. But we were just kind of like too early in the baseball lifestyle sense that like there was still so much room to grow here that just taking attention away was just too soon. But like I still feel like that. There's still so much left to go for baseball lifestyle that to start something new right now just doesn't make complete sense. I think there's other avenues and other things that we can go down before we get there, but it's also about having a passion for it. Like I don't want to run football or basketball lifestyle. Like that doesn't excite me, but I've gotten really into the game of golf, so maybe in 10 years, like that's what I do. I don't know, but I think sometimes you can get that shiny ball syndrome and get distracted and try to expand too quick instead of like squeezing the orange for what it's worth when you have, something that's really working.
And you mentioned it earlier too, kind of like I don't know if a turning point is the right way to describe it, but a big moment in the baseball lifestyle's history is the 2018 College World Series, where you said you were literally taking hundreds of selfies because you were getting recognized everywhere you went. And it was after that tournament where Bill ended up not investing, sorry, he ended up coming in as a business partner, right?
That's correct. Yeah. So, me and Bill, like I said, have been very close since I was 12, and Bill was probably my age at that time. So he's like 10 years older than me. So he was 22, 23, just took over the gym, or but maybe 24, 25, 24, 25, when I was like 12 or 13. So, he's really helped me out when I was younger, and he would give me advice, and I would come back and execute on it. And there'd be days where I wouldn't even go work out. I would just go into his office, and he would just help me, and we would just, he would teach me everything, and I just found it so interesting. And he's just like coach, and he's a coach by nature, so he was able to coach me in the business aspect of things. But we'd always joke around, and we would say, jokingly in the gym, like, hey, when the business hits $1 million in sales, you'll get, you can get 1% of the company. Like literally, it was like jokes. But 2017 was when I hired Melissa. Melissa is now married to Bill, but was his girlfriend at the time. And she basically came in and was started her own job right before that. Came into the office one day and basically I was running softballs Instagram. I was like, I can't speak, to women like out through the softball. Like, I don't know how, I physically can't do that. Like, can you do it? And she was basically, like, I can do it for you and X, Y, and Z. And then she came on as the first BL employee. She left her job, and that was kind of like the first employee. But since then, like in Omaha, basically, yeah, Billy like never owned a part of the company, and he drove to Omaha, Nebraska, 20 something hours, and basically was really, really helping me, but like, from a little bit of a distance so I can learn and mess up and kind of get my footing. But yeah, basically what happened was he pulled me aside and there was like 30, 40 people in the store and things were going well. And, sales were pretty wild for what they were. And he pulled me aside. He goes, look at this, like, look at what, you've built. And like, I could help you continue to go along this journey. I could really help you take it to the next level, or you could take it and continue to do your thing that you're doing. I can help you from afar, but it'd be a disservice to be in the position that I'm at because I'm kind of half in, half out because of, he has his own business to focus on and all that other stuff. So he's like, listen, I can come on as as an owner and, help you kind of take us to the next level, or you could do it yourself. And I know you could do it. He wasn't doubting me. He was like, I don't want to do you a disservice. And I just like right away, I was like, listen, man, like, let's go. Like, you're in, like, let's do this. Like, I wouldn't want to do this to anybody else. And that's kind of when he first literally came on as an owner, was in 2018, but he's been helping me out previously for 5 years.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. Like he's probably the perfect person to come on as co-owner, like you said, with everything like he'd done over the last 5 years before that.
We just work so well together in the sense that like he's older than me, he's more experienced in the business world, and we just have different ways of looking at things. I know I come at it from my perspective, he comes at it from his, and it just works really well. He's so good at strategically looking into the future, and I'm so good at executing on the present. So he'll give me all these crazy ideas, and I execute them on in real time, and like it turns out, great results. And to have that combination, that age gap difference is just good. It's just really like interesting. And Bill always says all the time, like he's like, I don't think baseball lifestyle could ever be recreated in the sense that like it's so rare to have, your trainer become, your mentor who becomes your business partner who's 12 years older than you. Like that doesn't make, I mean, that's not like a real common thing, but it's like a really like it's a really awesome relationship in the sense that it works really well. And I've learned so much from him, and he's one of the smartest people that I've known. He's so well educated, and it's just a really good relationship.
And most people say like the advice people give when it comes to business often is don't go into business with family or friends, but you've pretty much exclusively done that. So what is about yourself and baseball lifestyle that makes that work so well?
Yeah, well, with Bill and Melissa, those two, like Billy was, I was going there to work out. He wasn't family or friend, not a friend at the time. They've become family. I think when you kind of get into it, and Bill's known me since I was 12 years old. He's almost like my big brother, or like a uncle kind of thing, where we had that kind of relationship where he would just help me out. And my dad trusted him to, help me be a better athlete and B, guide me in the business sense, because my dad didn't know anything about business. So with him, he became first, my trainer, then a friend. And I was, I was in their wedding, I was on Melissa's side actually. And like, we're just family, we become really, really close. I go over there all the time. Like me and Melissa were building the business basically together in 2017. I was over their house every day, just grinding on it together, me and her. And me and her she became like an older sister to me. She's 27, and she became like an older sister to me. And obviously we've become like siblings. And then now I was in her wedding party as like a bros mate, which is funny. And but like we become that close, but that wasn't a thing before BL. And then everybody else, Josh, I've known him since I was 5 years old, grown up like right around the corner. And he's just always had the same drive that I've had, in the sense that like he's obsessed with baseball. He's a very hard worker, and we just work really well together. Like I live with him. Like people laugh all the time. Like you don't see one without the other. Like we're always just together, but we're always trying to put each other in a much better place. We're always trying to grind to make ourselves, better. And then with Dennis, I mean, Dennis was somebody that my friend Ryan was working with at Bed Bath, that he kind of wanted to look for a little bit of a change. And we brought Dennis in right away. We just felt it was the right fit, and he's become family, So I think some of it was people that weren't friends and family, but we have a very close environment, a very niche group where, we find it so important that everybody, fits culturally along together.
No, that's awesome. And then so you work out of the baseball lifestyle HQ. And what did it mean to you to finally get your own space, your own warehouse and everything? Was that shortly after the College World Series too? Is that when that happened?
It was, before, so it was February of 2018. We moved out of New Jersey. It was really cool, it was definitely a really cool experience to get, like, your own spot, quote, unquote, and, that was something that, again, you kinda don't think about, and you're like, "Wow, I have, like, a warehouse, I have keys, I have a place that I can call home," and, yeah, that was really cool, but it more just came out of necessity. I couldn't fit all the inventory in my house anymore, like, if I could do it out of my house, I would, because just straight up, like, you don't need to have a fancy office or all of that stuff. I think that's all like what socially is, people put on, oh, how many employees do you have or how big is your warehouse? Like it doesn't. Literally it doesn't matter. Like I think the 5 people here can produce a lot more revenue than most people can with 10 people. And I think the warehouse space that we have could be maximized because I could work from wherever, like I don't need to be here and doing what I need to do necessarily. But yeah, it was a really cool experience, man. I was like I said, 19, 20 years old, have my own warehouse. It was definitely really cool. But you know, nothing. I think it was just more literally out of necessity of space.
Yeah. No, that's fair. I mean, honestly, if you needed it, it's better than getting one when you really need one as opposed to just getting one just to say you have one.
Yeah, there's no reason to do that. Like and I've learned about that. When you are 19, 20, you think about like, oh, I want to have all these employees and I want to have this biggest warehouse. And now, like, I'm like, I'll stay in this spot because it's cheap and I could work from wherever and I'll stick with this team because it works. And I think it's about like kind of figuring out like what you want and what the process you're looking for is. But like, yeah, like there's no need to have something that's so fancy.
Mhm. And talk to me a little bit more about kind of the social strategy today. So you said that you're still the one running the Instagram account. You're not still posting 12 times a day though, right?
No, I'm now posting 7, so much less. No, I'm just kidding. 7 times, which is still a lot, but, yeah, 7 times during the week and then 4 times on the weekends to give myself a little bit of a break.
That's fair. And so like what's the in terms of what do you post? Like I think you have the 80/20 rule for every 4 posts you make that you can post one that promotes a product or something like that. Is that still a rule you follow?
Relatively, yeah. I mean, out of the 7 posts, usually, again, everything has a reason, but if it's a product drop, there might be more ads and more ads, quote unquote. But yeah, I mean, relatively the same way. I like to, give people a little bit of different things throughout the day, whether it's just content to make them feel good or whether it's promoting something that's happening or X, Y, and Z. Every day is different, which I love about owning a business social. Every day is different. Every day is new. But yeah, I'm running the social on Instagram still day to day because to me it's still so very important. But I've definitely taken a step back in terms of being the face on social because I have to be more business, and that's why the other Josh, is taking more of the face of baseball lifestyle on the social side of things.
Got you. And it's like in terms of building up additional personalities to that, like do you ever look to a company like Barstool who's done such a good job at building up all their personalities? Is that something you kind of model your company after, or was it just more so again a similar thing to getting the warehouse just purely out of necessity?
Yes and no. I mean, that was something that Bill installed in me. Was again putting my face behind it. So he always had told me to like build up different. We call it build up characters within inside of the business. And then the reason why we kind of put Josh in the forefront was because for me, it's hard to be a business owner, but also be a quote unquote, the face and celebrity in the sense that like if I had to go to Omaha, Nebraska, and I take 300 photos, I can't be doing all the business stuff. So like, which was nice in 2019 I had put myself less out there and more of Josh, and I didn't take nearly as many people knew, but I was able to actually run a business. I think I need to run more of the business and then let everybody else really be the face. And then I'm more of the person that if there's an important announcement or anything like that, it comes from me. It comes from the business owner. So we've kind of just created that kind of dynamic. And then Josh hopping on TikTok is, he's TikTok famous, like quote unquote in the baseball world. Like that's so when he took that over, it automatically just kind of puts him on that platform of being like the new face on social because that's where all the attention's at.
Yeah. And so when did you guys get on TikTok? I think you're sitting at almost 90K now.
Yeah, which is crazy because it was only a year ago. It was Omaha last year. And like I told you, it took me a year to grow Instagram 10K, but it's taken us a year to grow TikTok almost 100K, which is incredible. And that platform to me feels exactly like Instagram felt in 2013. And like I said, I saw today on the news like about the potential ban of TikTok and because of this Chinese app. It's like again, people will create, anything, but I think no matter what, even if it did get banned, it doesn't matter. It's just about taking as much, taking as much, land as you can and gaining as much new followers as you can and exposure while you can and hopping on that new platform. I mean, if people probably said the same thing about Instagram in 2013, they're scared to hop on the platform. This Facebook still, I think you kind of just be able to just kind of take that shot and I tell people right now, if TikTok's still a thing in 4 years, I think our TikTok will be bigger than our Instagram following and have more influence on our business and dollars day to day than Instagram will in 4 years.
No kidding. And actually, you just kind of sparked a memory when you said like what people probably used to think the same thing around Instagram. And I remember when Instagram first came out, my dad told me I wasn't allowed to get it because they were selling your photos without your permission or something like that. So there was like a similar fear like back in the day with Instagram. But another thing you guys too, I think especially like you've had a YouTube, another in terms of platform is YouTube, and you guys have had a YouTube for a while, but I kind of was going through there. It looks like you've doubled down on it kind of since the pandemic hit. Have you guys been spending more time there over the last few months?
Yeah, we 100% have. That again, it's just I think you need to spread yourself more than just being on one platform. Like again, like for example, if let's just say it is, if TikTok does get banned, if we had all of our following on TikTok, we'd be in a not as great situation. If we lost our Instagram tomorrow, we'd still have our 90,000 followers on TikTok and 70,000 on Facebook and all of our email. You know what I mean? So like I think it's also important to spread out and be on different platforms. And YouTube is just a long form platform where I think you get the more deeply engaged people. And yeah, we've doubled down on it. We haven't necessarily seen the same success in terms of views and all that stuff, but it doesn't matter. I think it's about just being on the different platforms and things will hit when they do, but being consistent and being on there is very important. So, for us, the big platforms we look at are YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok.
And so how does content differ from platform to platform for you guys specifically? Because like obviously the repurposed content you post on Instagram won't work for YouTube. So like what does that look like?
Yeah, I think you have to cater A towards the kid that's on there and B towards what the platform is. So like you said, Instagram, like we'll post some curated stuff, we'll post, X, Y, and Z, but TikTok is just, what's trending, what sound is popular, how can we relate that to baseball? You have, we might curse a little bit. We don't really curse at all on Instagram, but we might curse a little bit more on TikTok just because it's just what the platform is. So it's just catering towards what works on that specific platform. And then with YouTube, you can't just post a 30-second video. You got to post a 10, 12-minute video. So is it curating all of the best TikToks? Is it curating all your best Instagram posts? Is it talking on a thing? Is it making a longer form and then taking the longer form and putting it on Instagram? So each platform's got their different way of speaking. People on Facebook, it's all the parents. So I don't say the same words. I'm not saying drip and cop and, supreme and this and that on Facebook. I'm saying like, you got to be a little more mature. So I think each platform you have to cater towards the person that's on there.
And how deep do you get into the analytics for the different social platforms from an organic standpoint? Like I know you can get lost in the analytics, but is there any that you pay attention to platform to platform?
For TikTok, right now it's followers. And for Instagram right now it's just impressions, but like I don't really harp on that. I don't. You can only control so much. For me, are we putting out the best content? Are we getting the right engagement? Is it we put out a new product, is it selling out? And are we creating more, loyal customers and more loyal fans? So to me, it's just like if you put out the good content consistently, it's gonna play. And I know that's tough to look at because like there's people that have, you're like, oh, I want to get to, a million followers. I'm only at, 3,000. Like it seems so far away, but like again, you gotta focus on the micro. Like did this, did my 7 posts today do exactly what I wanted them to? Did my 9 o'clock a.m. post that I post that's curated, did that hit like people, in the fields? Did I make them laugh in the morning? Cool. Did my ad at noon, did it look good? Did it showcase the product well? Did I tag everything correctly? Did I make a good caption? Cool. And doing that throughout the day, looking at my 7 posts and being like, everything was what I wanted it to look like. Cool. The results will come. Same thing on TikTok, same thing on YouTube, same thing with our email, and same thing with our products.
Mhm. And how does a baseball lifestyle company like how do you guys create content with no baseball? I know baseball's back, and by the time this episode drops, the MLB will have returned. But for the last several months, how do you guys how do you pivot at that point?
Yeah, so for us, one of the main things that we did was we went on Instagram Live with different professional athletes every single night, which was me doing that, that was a damn grind. But like think about it, those kids didn't have Sports Center, they didn't have anything to watch, and they had no access to these guys. And what are they doing, right? What is what is your favorite baseball player doing during the pandemic? Is he still whatever? What is he doing? So I've over the years built up really good relationships, and this is where again we use the players, but not because they're MLB, just because they have the influence. And I was hopping on Instagram Live every night and with different guys from Trevor Bauer to retired guys to minor league guys to Coach Ferber, all those different guys, and just saying like, hey, hey Trevor Bauer, what are you doing to get better during the pandemic? Because none of these guys knew what was going on either with baseball. Nobody in the world knew what was going on, and it was just about entertainment for those kids. They know that when they went to baseball lifestyle, we were there to entertain them, and we did a ton of giveaways. So during opening day, the fake opening day when it was supposed to be, we did 5 giveaways that day with different brands, different partners, and with us to just give away as much stuff as we can. We did MLB The Show tournaments where kids could they DM'd us, the first 30 kids to DM us their PS4 handle. I personally wrote all their PSN handles out on a piece of paper. We made a bracket for 32 kids. They played against each other. Winner got a $100 gift card and a free swag bag. And like kids still ask us about those. That's the day. So for us, it was about kids were on their phone. We need to engage them. We need to keep the game of baseball alive, and then just creating good content. Day 7 of missing baseball, day 10 of missing baseball. Cutting open a baseball, stuff to do when there's no. You know what I mean? Like just making sure that you're on the top of mind of kids that when they come back and there is baseball, oh man, they're loyal to you. They're what you are what's in their face. And I'm telling you, I mean, June was our best month of the year sales wise all year. Without going into our College World Series, it was our best month all year, and that's because we did all the right things from when kids were not able to play from March, April, and May. So you have to just be there for the consumer, and when you're there for the consumer, they'll repay you.
Do you ever take time to reflect on the fact that baseball lifestyle is like the primary source for all things baseball for like an entire generation of ball players?
Yeah, see, when you say stuff like that, I do. Like seriously, like, well, I was talking about like today. When I met with Bill today, and we were talking about like how successful June was, and how, like you said, like with the pandemic, and how we were, come out of this even stronger. And I said that to my team first day of the pandemic. We all went, on our separate ways, quote unquote. I was working from home, all that stuff, and I was like, we're gonna come out of this stronger. Like we know what we need to do. We're a content based company. We have the kids. Let's do it. And yeah, it's pretty wild to hear that. I think I the fact that we have more followers than like 80% of the league of players and teams is pretty wild. And I believe I heard from somebody that like on a really like legitimate platform that only like some people can get, they looked up like top website traffic to different baseball, like from teams to anything related to baseball. And we were like within the top like 6 of like baseball traffic to like across all platforms, like website, social. I was like, wow, like that's crazy. And then me and Bill would talk and be like, name 10 brands in baseball that are bigger than us. And you're like, holy shit, like we're in the top 10 of, biggest baseball brands, and there's other people that do an amazing job, but like I'm not saying we do anything bad, but it is pretty wild when you think about that, from an idea that literally started for fun at 15 to and now at 22 to be in that conversation, hear things like what, you said and what other people have said and what they think about the brand is like it's pretty surreal, and it's a testament to every single person on my team. It's a testament to everything that we've done and being there for the customer for day one. Answering every DM, answering every comment, just taking care of people, man. Like that's just what it's all about.
Is a huge advantage for you guys as a company the fact that being such a big brand, but at the same time having such a small, tight knit team that you're able to be more nimble than some of these other
Yeah,
brands?
huge, 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 huge. That was huge during the pandemic, that's still going on. But like, some of our competitors who have amazing brands have just gone a different path than us, like they want to go more down the retail route. And it's retail is nothing wrong with retail, but like it's just not that they did it even wrong. It's just like it's a risk, like having you have more employees, and then look at the pandemic. Nobody can go out shopping. Their retail stores were located right near baseball parks across MLB. Well, guess what? There was no MLB, there was no game, so nobody's going over to the parks, so nobody's going to shop across the street. And that's not that they did anything wrong. That's a great strategy. It's just a very different strategy than we have. I never want to over leverage myself. I want to do things right. I don't want to go into the whole, VC route and raising money and going into debt and cap. It's like, dude, just let's build a business. Let's build a brand that, like it's producing really good results for years to come. And when the right time comes, things will happen, because I enjoy doing it. I enjoy being around this environment. I enjoy doing this with my closest friends. And I don't take any day for granted, So I think it's just, yeah, being nimble, being small. I think Steve Jobs said it best. You should be able to feed your team with a pizza pie. Like anything bigger than that, you have too big of a team. Um, and that's just what I've done. I've looked at other brands that I look up to. I'm not very familiar because Elliot was on their podcast. The guys over at Iconic and Mark and Jeff, like they're like two guys, three guys, four guys. It's not a lot of people, and they're producing millions and millions and millions of dollars. So I look at people like that and go, that's the way to do it, and not try to be fancy and have always, oh yeah, I have 12 employees. Well, guess what? When the coronavirus hit, like, were you able to pay all those people? So like I look at it like that.
Mhm. And in terms of like you mentioned there, you don't want to like overextend or overexert yourself. I heard you say somewhere that I think it was in 2019, you said that when you were 25, 26, you want to slow down for a bit and take a couple days off. I have a bit of a two-pronged question when it comes to that. One, is that still something you think about doing? And two, do you think that's even possible with your DNA and makeup of just always being a hustler, even from being a kid? Like, is that something you think you could actually do?
Yeah, I'm smiling because it's like I know I remember like it's just like I think I'm gonna be able to do that, but now there's no shot. Yeah, I mean, like slowing down to me is just like I don't know what that even looks like. I don't think that's even a thing because, like you said, like you were saying, like the coronavirus and the pandemic and what the business has become opens up new opportunities and a lot of new things that are gonna take me in different places I never thought I'd be before. But like I I have to like at least take some time in the sense of like a vacation, like a week vacation. I told myself this year that I would make sure I mandatory give myself 4 weeks of time off. And I know Gary talks about that. He's like, I'm on every day, but then I'm off 4 weeks of the year. Just I'm completely off. So my goal is to do that this year. Obviously, the pandemic hasn't helped that because I can't go anywhere. But yeah, I think in terms of that, I mean, maybe I'm not running the Instagram day to day. Maybe I'm not involved with BL in the sense of day to day. I'm more there for the bigger meetings and bigger things. So maybe in that sense, because I'm doing more passive things, I'm getting into more real estate, all those other things that I want to chase when I'm older. So I think it may be in the sense of that way.
Mhm. And what about like long-term baseball lifestyle? Like, what's kind of your vision for the company long term?
I think it could become the Nike of baseball in the sense that like we're not just an apparel company. We're not just a media company. We're able to pivot wherever we want because of how we've set things up. We're baseball lifestyle. So what is baseball lifestyle? It's everything. It's teams, it's clothing, it's this, it's that, it's whatever we want to take it down. Like shoot, in 10 years, I'm what 32 maybe I get a kid and I want to start up a team, now we've got a team, an organization. I don't know, I think there's so much that can be done because we've built a just the importance is you've built a brand, you've built a loyal base, and you've built an actual connection with people. So I think once you've done that, you're able to pivot to whatever you feel like is next. So I think again there's things that I want to do this year that we didn't end up doing but then creates new opportunities. So I think for BL, it's just about continuing to double down on what we're doing because the clothing side of things is brand new. This is year four. Really, it was 2017. The August of 2016 was really like just get things started. Like 2017 was like the real first year, and it's only 2013. Sorry, 2020. Like it's 3 years. Like it's not a lot of time. So the clothing aspect, we're just learning. We just released our first ever windbreaker in 3 months ago. Like first ever windbreaker. Like we have not dove into so many new products yet. So I think there's so long to go on the clothing side and squeezing that out and kind of going from there.
Have you ever had the thought of starting to produce more content for the other parties as opposed to just baseball lifestyle? Like almost become acting like a sort of agency for MLB players because one, you guys have the content game nailed down, but two, you have the distribution for the content through the baseball lifestyle channel. So is that something you've ever thought about doing?
Oh yeah, 100%. Because like these guys need help. These guys need it. I think we were literally just talking off the podcast. Like Gary's company just started, they got into baseball. And I was like, wow, big move. Good move because he knows content. He's gonna help build people's brands, and that's what we can do for people. So yeah, 100%. I think there's other ways that we could do things. There's a lot of things behind the scenes with content and media that doesn't look overt, but it's there in terms of brand partnerships and stuff that we make money on the back end that people don't really even know about because it just looks, it looks pretty organic. So there's a lot of other ways that we can, build other revenue streams into the business that are just going to help kind of take care of other things.
Is international markets ever something you're going to look at pursuing, like other countries where baseball is popular? Or are you guys going to kind of just own the US?
No, I think. I think we definitely have to kind of tackle one before we get to the next. But like, the markets of like Japan and the Dominican Republic are two really big baseball, places that I think that, be fun to explore. But I think, like you said, I think what I'm saying is too, we gotta just squeeze that orange of the US. We have not reached nearly the amount of potential here. We haven't even come out with any women's line stuff yet. We haven't even tapped into that side of things. How many moms are shopping for us but don't have anything for themselves yet? So when is that gonna come? So I think that's what I'm saying. Like there's still so much to go before we even get into that. So that's why I think the long tail of the business is there's so much left to do.
I think a lot of people hearing and listening to this podcast are going to be blown away by the amount of things you've accomplished in the last 7 years. But at the end of the day, if on March 13th, 2013, you hadn't started the account, none of this would have happened. Can you kind of speak to the importance of just starting?
Yeah, that's huge for me, man. Uh I think just getting started is the biggest thing. If you never picked anything up or you never did anything, you'll never know what could have been. And a lot of people my age like, well, how'd you get to where you're at? And this, that. I'm like, I just started earlier. Like I'm not anything special. Like I'm really not. I just put my head down, I work and I listen, and I take what's given to me and I apply it. But I also just start. I'm not afraid to pick up something and do it and fail because it's not failure. Every failure, is a lesson learned. And I still fail to this day all the time. I'm still learning so much. But dude, I mean, I was telling people during the pandemic, I was like, you guys are home now. Like instead of I haven't played a video game in so long. I haven't watched, I watch Netflix and all that stuff to turn my brain off sometimes because I have been doing so much. But like stop binge watching Netflix shows and stop playing PS4. Pick up your phone and create something that enjoys you and start working on it because it won't be work, but you have to get started on it. But the other thing about that goes inside with it is don't tell anybody. Just work and put the work in, and then when you've done the thing, then you can start asking and showcasing what you've done. I'm sure you see it all the time. People put CEO and founder in their bio, and it's like you haven't made $1 yet. And it's like that's the biggest thing that frustrates me because like Gary talks about it too. Is entrepreneurship is cool now, but like people don't know. Like yeah, it looks like all the success for me, but like there's been days where I'm post or I can't do X, Y, and Z, or I can't go out, or the days where you're crying under your desk by yourself because you're an entrepreneur and it's lonely, but nobody shows that. Everyone sees what the outcome is, the Instagram, but there's so much more behind it. But it all just happens when you just start. You have to do something.
Hearing you kind of talk about all the things that you have to give up to be an entrepreneur. I know we haven't really touched on it in this interview, but you've mentioned the past how like you didn't really party very much in high school or even college because you were just so focused on the brand. Is there ever any regrets over the last 7 years building the company?
No, I think all the things that we've done wrong are important lessons for business going forward that you won't repeat. Um, no, I mean, I have no regrets about BL at all. I think I was guided very, very, very well by Bill. And, he always, at a younger age, never wanted me to lose money and kind of feel that like negative side of business. So his goal was always help me make money and be, positive and be cash flow positive and feel that. And, so I don't think there's really any regrets. I think a lot of it was, uh, you know, right timing and all that stuff. You want to call it luck, but a lot of it is just you know hard work and not second guessing yourself. Because I think you can look back and regret, and like, but what are you doing? You're wasting your time looking back. So I'm never looking back. I'm always looking to today and forward.
Mhm. Before we wrap up, I ask everyone the same standard set of questions. But right before we do that, I was wondering if you could tell the story of when you surprised your dad with round trip flights and tickets to watch the San Francisco Giants play. I just think that's such a cool story.
Oh yeah, that was fun, man. So the backstory of that is my dad's a Giants fan and I'm a Yankee fan. And in 2005 or six, he surprised me with tickets and the flight to San Francisco to go watch the Giants play the Yankees. So I'm close friends with Chase Darno, who was playing with the Giants at the time. And so what I did was I surprised my dad with I flew to North Carolina, surprised him there. He had no idea I was going. But then I surprised him with flights and tickets to the game. Well, yeah, flights to San Francisco and tickets to the game, hotel, the whole thing, right across from the stadium to go watch for his birthday. And then it didn't stop there. So when we got to the field, I was like, Dad, we got to go there for BP, like not like on the field. I'm like, we got to go there for BP. But I'm like, oh, we got to go this way, knowing that we're gonna go on the field and be on the field at San Francisco, and he can meet all of his favorite players and all that stuff. So got him on the field, BP passes, met all of his favorite players, which was so cool. To be able to give back like that is like what every kid I feel like should dream of. and, give back to your parents. And then what was even better with that was, again, I'm very close with Chase to the point where, um, after the game at night, we went back to the hotel. Him and a couple of Giants players were hanging out with us, talking. The next day, we went even earlier than BP, where it was only me, my dad, and Chase on the field doing whatever we wanted. I was having to capture my dad on the field. It was literally me chasing my dad on my dad's dream field, his whole life. So like that was just such an amazingly cool experience that I'll never be able to recreate. But I'm so happy that I was able to do it and kind of document a little bit of that.
Yeah, man, no kidding. That's just such a cool story that I just wanted to share that with my listeners. I just thought that's so cool. But before we wrap up, like I said, I got the same standard set of questions I ask everybody. We'll try and power through these pretty quickly. First one's being, you're going to dinner, you can take 3 people, anybody dead or alive, who do you take to dinner?
Oh, this is a good one. All right, so I'm taking Billy. I'm taking Gary, and I'm taking Trevor Bauer. Now, reason being behind this is there's a reason. Billy is just, again, he's very good at absorbing information and applying it. Bauer is like the head of, like, basically social in baseball and like pushing media forward and content and all that. And then Gary from Gary Vaynerchuk from a entrepreneurship side, and he also likes baseball. To get those three with me, I feel like we'd consume a lot of and change the game and landscape of baseball, and then be able to apply that for myself in the business.
I love that. I love when there's more, like when there's a reason behind the people. I think that's dope.
Yeah, I got to bring Billy with me everywhere because he's just so good at absorbing knowledge. He'll read a book and be able to spit everything back to you. He'll watch a cooking show and do the recipe, and like I'm not like that, so I need him to help me, and then he'll relay that to me, and then we can execute on that.
That's awesome. What's some of the best advice you've ever gotten?
Oh man, I think one of the biggest things was it comes from my dad and Bill and everybody. It was just like, don't let like basically the haters like deter you or like, let you get down. Cause again, I was like the smallest kid on the baseball field. So, being told you're too small, you're not good enough or whatever. And then same thing from the business side. Oh, this is a joke. Why are you doing this? This is funny. You got 5,000 followers. Stop doing it. And then being told to, basically stay like, on your own path, be in your own head and be centrally focused. Like that was so big for me because I've always had that installed in me. And like, I don't know what's going on around the world. I'm just so focused on what I need to do to make myself better.
What's one thing about you that you don't think people would expect?
Oh man. One thing about me people wouldn't expect is tough. This is a good question. Wow. Put me on the spot here. People wouldn't expect. I think people wouldn't wow. I think people wouldn't expect like where like that I wasn't like for example, I didn't pick up like my first book that I read fully until like 2 years ago. So like I wasn't like made like this. Like I wasn't like I had the drive, but like in terms of like education, in terms of like who I am and like what I do, and like I wake up at 6 a.m. now and I do all this stuff. Like I don't think people would expect that from somebody that's 22. I think they look at like from the outside perspective as like a 22-year-old, you wouldn't expect all the things that I do. I'm basically like a 45-year-old man in a 22-year-old's body. Like that's just who I am, and I don't think a lot of people expect that until they see like all the stuff that I actually do, and they're like, oh wow, like you meditate, you do this and all that, and I just don't think people expect that from like meeting me without knowing.
What is one thing that's so important everybody needs to know?
Ah man, what's so important? Everyone needs to know. Being taking your passion and actually doing something with it because it won't feel like work, I think is very important. Like I said with baseball, I know it's kind of a standard thing, but like with baseball, like it doesn't feel like any work. I think another thing is a big thing for me is just putting your head down and like sacrificing. Again, like we talked about this multiple times where I was posting 12 times a day. I wasn't going out my senior year, my freshman year, all this stuff, and I wasn't posting, about the business until it was really a thing. So like I think people need to understand about just being humble and like, but also understanding that like sacrificing is key. Going back to the quote thing real quick, which is one that Billy always says. He goes, "Live, uh, live your life like most people won't, so you can live the rest of your life like most people can't." And I live my life exactly like that. I will sacrifice my 20s, my time, so that when I'm 30, I could be on a damn golf course wherever I want, when I want, live on the water, drive my sports car, be able to set myself up where like I don't want to be the businessman, with his wife and I'm traveling all the time. I want to be there for my kids, like, but I need to set myself up to be in that position. So live your life like most people won't, so you can live your life like most people can.
I love that. And for the final question, I like to flip the script. So instead of me asking the question, it's you asking the question, but it's not to me. So pretend you have this crystal ball. You can ask this crystal ball any question, you'll get the 100% honest answer. What is one question you want to know the answer to?
Oh man. For me, um, what would I want to know the answer to? Wow. I want to know. I seriously want to know what actually that baseball lifestyle changes in the game of baseball. Like, what is like the real landscape of changing the culture of baseball and what that actually looks like. So, like, we say we want to be the pioneers, but if I could look into the future and say like this is what the game of baseball looks like, and it looks more like the NBA and all this stuff, but like, how are we integrated in that? Like, is BL really the next Nike in the sense that, or the next thing that's like, are we partners with MLB because we're really changing the game that much? And I think that to me is really interesting to see like what the future is like, and to know like what that is would be pretty cool.
No, 100%. But I want to thank you for taking time to be on the podcast. I want to give you the floor. Where can the people find you? Plug anything and everything you got right now.
Yeah, man, for sure. So for my personal Instagram, you guys can follow me at jshap101. The baseball lifestyle Instagram is at baseball_lifestyle101. The website's bl101.com. That's everywhere where I'm at. I'm always on my phone, always engaging, always on the DM. So if you got any questions, hit me up. But yeah, man, again, Jacob, really appreciate you having me on, man. It always means a ton for people to want me to be a part of something like this. And again, coming from where I did, it's just at 15, it's just amazing to be able to tell my story, and hopefully it can help some people out.
Yeah, no, 100%. I appreciate that, man. I really appreciate you giving your time to be on this podcast as well. And I want to thank everybody for listening. Whether you've listened the entire way through, you only listen to bits and pieces. I really appreciate you taking time to check this out. Everyone, do me a big favor. Go and follow Josh. Go and follow Baseball Lifestyle. Make sure everything's linked in the show notes down below. And if you like to follow me, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at the Jacob Kelly. Feel free to come and say hello. My DMs are always open. If you like to follow the podcast, you can find us on Instagram and at My Social Life Podcast, or YouTube by searching on My Social Life. As always, today's podcast is powered by TRUFAN. Thank you once again for listening, everybody. We'll talk soon.